Hi everybody, Mr. Bowman here. In this video, we are looking at 1.4 linear algebra, and we're focusing on that movie streaming example. In previous videos, we've done the achieve stuff, got that in blue there. We've looked at the merit stuff in blue for part 2 and part 3, but what we're working on here is part 3. The answer we did in the previous video, that was a merit level only response. Wouldn't be good enough for excellence. Just to recap why. The company wants to make as much money as possible, and you can see there's a huge void between the blue line going across diagonally and the intersection up there. That void is too big. We're not going to get any. We're not maximizing our profit there. So what we're going to do, I'm going to delete all this, and I'm going to unclick these. Don't forget, keep them there. You never know if you might need them again. And we'll get rid of these labels, and we're going to start again for this question, but at a better excellence level. All right, so just a reminder, the red line that I'm getting, deleting in and out there, that's me cylinder, and we're looking to find a cheaper pricing model for me cylinder. And when I think of cheaper pricing models, I think of it's basically if you can hug the line or follow this green line slightly below, ever so much slightly below, and then there slightly below the blue line there, for me, you're only a fraction of a dollar cheaper every time, or whatever it might be. So for me, or a couple dollars in this case. So that's our goal. So I'm looking to use the power of parallel lines to make a new model that follows the green one and then follows the blue one going sideways. So follows there and then follows there, just so me cylinder can maximize their profit. So I'm going to get rid of the red line there, and I'm looking for a parallel line, or a line that's parallel to this green part here. And the nice thing about parallel lines is they have the exact same gradient. So I know my gradient is going to be 1.5 because that's the gradient of the green line currently. All I've got to do is I've just got to drop it ever so slightly to make it underneath that. So I thought if I'm cheeky, I could use the exact same model that we have for AdWalt already, except let's drop it by $1. So you can see how it's really, really close to that green line. Let's change the color. So if we go to settings down here, let's make it orange maybe. There you go. You can see it's parallel to AdWalt the whole way. It's ever so slightly cheaper. So it'll be $1 cheaper along the whole way. The only thing is we've got some domain issues because the line keeps on going above, and we've got the negative stuff, so we just need to delete that. So what we need to do is, just in this area, you can see it intersects at 19.333. So maybe this price range is relevant between 0 and 19 hours, and then after 19 hours, we scoot on over across. So our domain for this one, let's check if it works. It's going to be 0, x, and then the equals sign. Don't forget the equals there, and then go 19. And there you go, perfect. So we can see it's ever so slightly below that green line. So it's cheaper at every single point here. And then we've got the close bracket there. The next thing we need to do, we'll get to the typing part on our Google Docs shortly. We now need to spit out a parallel line, or a line that goes askew from there. So at the very end of this graph, you can see it goes 19, 39.5. So that means 39.5 is the price at 19 onwards. So we need to keep it at $39.5. So that's just a horizontal line, y equals 39.5. And you'll see that's really similar to the blue line. So the blue line was y equals 40. I'm going to do y equals 39.5. So it's 50 cents cheaper at every point. So y equals 39.5. I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it to another orange line so we can see the two orange lines interact with each other. But we've got the same problem. We've got the orange line happening before, and we've got the orange line happening afterwards. Don't forget, we have been asked to do this price for only up to 50 hours. So we're going to go, it starts at 19, which is where we left off, x. Don't forget your equal sign for the second part, and then it's going to stop at 50. Oh, got the wrong bracket again. Okay, and there we go. We can see we've got our orange pricing model, and you can see that's much closer. If you bring up the other line that we had, this was our bad merit example line, you can see it's way closer. It's undercutting the competition ever so slightly to make it cheapest in the market at all of the points. So for me, that's the best pricing model. It's ever so slightly cheaper. So what we're now going to do is we're now going to explain our pricing model. So my suggested pricing model for me cylinder is a piecewise function. Just a reminder, a piecewise function means it's two lines kind of joined together, and that's the two orange lines. Represented by the following equations. And I'm just going to type up my two equations. So y equals 1.5x plus 11. And don't forget my domain 0, x. And then don't forget the equal sign as well. So if you can't find the equal sign, just do greater than equal to like that. That's no stress. And the second part will be the rest of it. Y equals 39.5. Same thing, put in our domain 19, x. And then same thing, greater than or equal to, or less than and equal to in this case, 50. There we go. So that's my new pricing model. So I've got a couple things that I'm wanting to do now. Because this is an excellence question, I need to explain what exactly this pricing model means. And it would also be really cool to show or explain how cheaper it actually is compared to the other models. So let's start off by explaining this model. This new model means that me cylinder will charge a $11 monthly subscription fee, and then $1.5 for every hour streamed, and then I'm right up to 19 hours. And that represents the first part of our model. If anyone streams over 19 hours, they will be charged over 19 hours and no more than 50, because that represents the upper limit. No more than 50, they will be charged a fixed fee of $39.5. This does not change based on how much they stream. And I guess the other thing to note is anyone wanting to stream more than 50 hours, this model doesn't work for them. This pricing model does not consider anyone streaming more than 50 hours. So that there is a description, a verbal summary of what we're doing. So the first part, this new model means me cylinder will charge $11 subscription fee. That's the y-intercept. That's the number down the bottom there. Then $1.50 for every hour after that. That is the gradient. And I've noted very clearly for up to 19 hours, and that's because we stop at the 19-hour mark. The next part is the second bit of our function. So if anyone streams over 19 hours, but no more than 50, because it stops at 50, they will be charged a fixed fee of $39.50. So it won't be more than $39.50 no matter what. This does not change. And then the last thing is, because our model stops at 50, I just wanted to make it clear this model doesn't suit anyone who streams more than 50 hours. So the next thing I want to do, just to really convince the marker, I just want to explain how much it's cheaper at every point. So for this first line here, I'm just going to pick a number in it. So if x equals 10, so let's say x equals 10, I can see that it's $1 cheaper at any point in this range. And I'm going to do the same for another one over here. So let's say x equals 30. X equals 30. I can see here, oh gosh, they're so close to each other, I can't actually click on them. There we go. I can see it's 50 cents cheaper every time, even though the coordinates are the wrong way around. It should have been the other way around. There you go. So they've just changed it for us as well. And there. So I just want to explain that it's cheaper in the first range by $1, no matter what, and then it's cheaper in the second range by 50 cents, no matter what. So our model is cheaper by $1 for anyone who streams 19 hours or less. For example, someone who streams 10 hours would pay $26 with the new pricing model, but they would have paid, that was AdWalt, the green line, AdWalt $27 otherwise. Our model is cheaper by 50 cents, so I'm going to now start talking about the other part of the graph. 50 cents for anyone who streams more than 19 hours. But no more than 50 hours. For example, someone who streamed 30 hours would pay $39.50 with the new pricing model, but they would have paid Java Good $40 otherwise. So let's just get the space. I'm too OCD not to space that. And there you go. That wraps up the best excellence version of the answer. So I've got some examples of why it's cheaper at each of the points. I've explained in context what this new model actually means. And then finally, I've got the new model themselves. Just a reminder, during the video, I've been unclicking my working. You can see the old ones from the previous parts popping up. So please do that in the internal, unclick them as opposed to completely delete them. That way your teacher, you'll be doing this via teacher code, your teacher will be able to see what you're doing and they'll be able to check their working. At this stage here, if you really wanted to screenshot your work, you probably could. You probably send in a screenshot, probably could have done the same for the merit section. But because you've got all the working on your Desmos, you don't necessarily need to. So that wraps up the excellence portion of the video. Hopefully you can see it's a lot more work than the merit one, particularly for that last section. And yeah, we did use the power of parallel lines to make sure that we were cheapest at each of those points. So thanks so much for watching. Have a look at the merit and excellence, or merit and achieve videos if you haven't already.